This is John I. I'm making a series of recordings of how I work the 12 steps of recovery incorrectly. This is about step 8. Step 8 in the 12 steps says this: made a list of people we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay. So how did I work that wrong? It sounds pretty straightforward. Okay. First of all, I assumed this was a very punishing step, one that I dreaded. It was Judgment Day. It was a nightmare scenario where, imagine I get to the pearly gates and St. Peter opens a book, and there in black and white is a list of everything I've ever done wrong in my life. And of course, St. Peter's going to look at that and say, I think you are at the wrong gates. So, kidding aside, I was filled with dread. I had no interest in making a list of people I had harmed. I didn't want to even make a single list of anybody I had harmed. So I didn't see any benefit to it, so I resisted. This was obviously a dreadful step. It was meant to punish me. And since I knew from reading ahead that step 9 is when I would actually have to do something about the people I have harmed, I really didn't want to work it. Now, I therefore made my 8th step list based almost entirely on fear. I was afraid to write down anything. And I didn't get sober. I'm sure I wrote down something, but I was, instead of going a mile deep into truth-telling, I went 1/16 of an inch into truth-telling. And since I wasn't willing to truly commit myself and trust myself to the recovery process of the 12 steps, I wasn't getting the results. If you don't work the steps, you don't get the results. That was true for me. So I was trying to think this over for a second. I was able to complete the steps the first time through, but without getting the results. When I went back later on, learning more about how the steps had been originally written and digging into the meaning of some of the words used in the steps, going back and making a list of people I had harmed was not going back and making a long list of everything in my life that I felt bad about. Now, that was my fear talking, but a more accurate definition of step 8 was to rely on the fact that the fellow who wrote the steps had been to law school. He studied to be a lawyer. In law school, they teach the legal definition of harm. There are 4 types of harm. This is what I have read. You can go to court in front of a judge and say, I have been harmed by one of the 4 following ways. Number 1, I've been harmed physically. I've been physically injured. Not just threatening me, but they actually physically hurt me. That's an action the judge can rule on and punish them for. The second type of harm is financial. This person stole something from me. They caused me to lose money unfairly. They took something that belonged to me. Somehow or another, they have taken a belonging of mine, and I can take that concern to court and plead my case because it does involve financial harm. 3 is reputation harm. This is one we don't often think about, but if someone tells a lie about me that damages my reputation, they're repeating negative stories about me, you can actually sue them for damaging your reputation. And if the court finds they did damage your reputation, they are penalized and they are found guilty of harming you, harming your reputation. The fourth one is the one that I think it's probably easiest for most of us to see, and that's when you harm someone emotionally. I can't think of perfect examples because there are a lot of them, but if I insult someone or I disappoint them, if I lie to someone, if I bully someone, if I trick them, if I betray them, any such things that are very unpleasant to experience, these things leave one feeling personally harmed. That's also a form of harm. So these things can be discussed in court. So when we make a list of people we've harmed, the second time I went through, I realized I needed to look at those categories and figure out, had I harmed anyone financially, in their reputation, in their emotions, or physically? That's a yes or no question for each one of them. Now, because of this, I have to go back because it does say make a list of people we've harmed. So I'm going to write them down. And it helped me see something I didn't see the first time through. It helped me see that not everyone who I have ever had a disturbed feeling about is someone I've harmed. The step 4 inventory included people who I felt disturbances with, maybe resentment, maybe regret, maybe fears. But it doesn't necessarily mean I've harmed them. So I think I often overstated how much harm I had actually caused other people. So if I was going to be honest, I had to stop and think about people who I had actually harmed using the guidelines of the legal definition. Now, my resentment and fears list could conceivably be empty of anyone I've harmed. But that third inventory, the harms inventory, got to look closely at that, because that's going to include people I've harmed. So the second time through, I was not only thorough, but I was very focused on making sure I was telling the truth, that I really had harmed the people I wrote down, and I knew how I had harmed them. If I was going to enjoy the benefits of recovery, I had to do it that way, and it did work. I did recover. Now, this written step concludes with the phrase, it doesn't conclude with it, it includes the phrase, became willing to make amends to them all. And we'll talk in step 9 about what an amends actually is. But the part I really need to get right is that I had harmed them. This is an accurate list of people I have harmed. And I need to be willing to make amends to them all. And we'll talk about the amends in step 9.